I remember I was in a little study cube in my dorm, and I just had this idea of um, what would it look like if I was able to connect with others at the start of my freshman year, to give them a chance to start off at the beginning of their freshman year with a home with Christian fellowship. That was a pretty intense evening because it was so much. And I remember I had 5 or 6 front and back sheets just written out of what that vision looked like. There were 4 of us that ended up coming together. So there were 4 directors the first year. It's Brian, Aaron, Mike, and myself. And every night for a week, we prayed. And so it's very deliberate, very intentional, from the big picture all the way down to a person. That prayer being the foundation for it all, it was very clear from the beginning that that's what would guide us, that's what would lead us. But we also started meeting with college pastors and college ministries in the area. And it was great because we were able to then have the support of not only Christian organizations, but churches in the community as well. The first retreat, I think we had more staff than students. It was a neat moment of seeing God fulfill that initial vision of bringing people together. God has shown me and revealed to me a vision for what impact could look like and what God wants to do through this ministry. And for me, it's kind of the Ebenezer, one of those cornerstones and pillars of my life that I constantly refer back to, of just going, He has been faithful, He has been good, He has fulfilled His promise. But it's also just this reminder that He has plans that are bigger than us, that He will fulfill, that He is faithful. Why wouldn't He do it another time?
In 2009, I was a counselor in Alpha Naphtali, and then in 2010, I was a co-chair in Delta Naphtali. Just the way in which we saw people connect was not anything that I've seen in many other places before, and so it's definitely something that was a blessing to my life as an incoming student, but then also as a leader. So I started at Sam Houston State University in July of 2019. While I was there, I got really plugged into a church that I loved, and there was a really healthy body of believers. So I just started asking a lot of questions about how they found each other. The more I asked, the more people kind of looked at me confused and were like, "What are you talking about?" So then I had to be like, "Well, when I was at A&M, we did this thing called Impact, and this is what it was like, and this is how it affected my life and how much I grew in my walk with the Lord just as a college student. Is there anything like that?" To which I got a lot of no's, and then people looking at me like, well, somebody should do that. The more I prayed about it, the more I just really felt like the Lord was pressing upon, this is something that you can do and something that you've learned how to do. And so it's a service you can provide to this community. And so I think that here at A&M, as a part of Impact, way back in the day in 2009 and 2010, God really instilled, I just want you to love me and love people and follow me as I ask you to do that. And so I think that that's what's happened at Sam Houston. Is it's all the same thing in a different t-shirt. I love that we get to just stand in the gap and help connect high school students to college ministry. And I think that that's such a pivotal transition for students, and it's a joy to get to be a part of what the Lord is doing specifically in that time frame. The Lord's going to be the Lord no matter what you do. And so if He wants to do something big and if He wants to change somebody's life, He's going to do it without you. So you can choose to say yes and enjoy the ride, or you can walk away. But either way, the Lord's going to prevail in His plans. So easy yes.
My earliest memory of church, I didn't even know what church was at this point, but it was seeing my mom worship. And then I remember in middle school is when I started going to youth ministry. And that's where church became fun for the first time. And it kind of like started to evolve a little bit. My faith became my own. Okay, 2015, freshman Cedric. The the most fascinating thing I remember is someone saying, like, I've been praying for you for a year. And I was like, what? But I could see like this love for me. I remember my BG parents, um, they talked a lot about the local church. At first, like you say, as a kid, church was a place where I think saw my mom worship. I didn't know what that meant. It was a place where I made friends. It was a place where I made my faith my own. And then it was like a place where I did life, like where my life was formed. Impact gave me so much. So I knew after my freshman year, I want to get back. And I want to give freshmen like the same thing that I was given as a freshman. And I remember applying, and I remember getting public relations, and being like shocked. I'm like, okay, cool. What does this mean? How can we make impact more about the church? Like, how can we rally our students, the freshmen, the counselors, the co-chairs, the prayer teamers, around the fact that, no, we actually are about the church. And that is actually the most important thing we want you to get plugged into. I hope to believe that, students and leaders, when I was done with my time as PR, they understood that giving to the church and that investing in the church is actually like the best investment you can make. Impact is about the local church isn't just a statement. It's actually like embedded in everything we do. It's kind of like everything ends with, okay, church, no matter where you're at, I feel like. Post-college, man, so I've been out of college for around like 7 years. And I think the most important investment you can make, the first thing you do, is what my counselors told me when I was a freshman, is find a church. Because when I look back at the past like 10 years or so of my life, the fruit of my life that I've seen is because that I've been planted in the soil of a church.
Yeah, so we attended Impact as a freshman this summer of 2020. So it was Zoom Impact. And it was really cool to see like the mission of Impact still go forward in that format.
I think about often pressing start on that Zoom from the link that was sent out, and just getting to meet people that really helped me to walk through my freshman year, a time that was really anxiety producing and full of fear and the unknown.
So my freshman year, I was a Omega Reuben prayer teamer. My sophomore year, I was on media as a graphic designer. My junior year, I was a Beta NAF prayer teamer. And then my senior year, I was an RC and I was the NAF buddy exec.
Yeah. My freshman year, I was the Beta Reuben prayer teamer. My sophomore year, I was the Beta Zeb co-chair. And then my junior year, I was the Beta co-chair trainer. I think, something we've talked about a lot just in the context of doing so many different roles in Impact is that God blesses the work of many different things. And he's glorified through each of those different mediums, which is such a praise, because that means that there's a place for all of us in the kingdom and in the work that's to be done. The thing that I saw the most in all those different roles is that it truly was just a glimpse of heaven, of what it's going to mean in eternity to have our roles and to play them out for the glory of Christ. It really did feel like I was coming back to the well year in, year out, and I was being poured into so that I could go and I could express just the goodness of Christ and what it means to be a part of his church in a really practical way.
The way that I watched the Lord answer prayer in the prayer room and throughout the full year was like nothing short of miraculous. Just the immediacy and the clarity with which the Lord said, okay, yes, here you go. And so Impact and the prayer room and retreat for me became very much an Ebenezer of my faith, like something that I looked to to see the faithfulness of the Lord, to be reminded of it. Like, I'm serving the same God now that answered that prayer in the prayer room. And like, he wants to say yes now just as much as he did then.
When I decided to apply for Impact Counselor, it was so based on my experience as a camper. For me to be so cared for and led by someone that loves the Lord, it was like an infection that I had to deal with. Like, I wanted to lead other people the same way. Walking through counselor that semester, it was like sharpening tools that I didn't even know I had. I understood what everything was. I understood the need to facilitate a Christian conversation. So to be able to do that with training was incredible. And it made me realize that like prayer and training as a leader was everything. I started as counselor, fell in love with receiving training and being led. There was a lot of being poured into and a little bit of pouring out. After that, I was a co-chair, As a co-chair, you get the chance to lead others. You're stewarding this camp, and you're praying for them to be equipped to send them out. After that, I was on exec and ultimately get to champion the importance of the local church, reminding myself first and the ministry. The local church is why we do this whole thing. It was really sweet to run this race for 3 or 4 years with Impact, and just witnessing 4 years of prayer, really, from it being an incoming student to like sitting at retreat on last night. People talk about the veil between heaven and earth getting really thin. Being on exec was that for 14 days. One of the things that I learned from Impact was having a clear why changes everything. Impact taught me that the why is where you should always start. Of like, Christ is our why. He came and died for us because he had a clear why, not just because he wanted to die, but he wanted to save us. Another thing that Impact taught me that I still think about today is the value of making someone feel seen and known. Jesus meets us with so much empathy and compassion. So to step into ministry, to love people from a place of caring who they are, not just because I have a job to do, but I care about your soul. So Ephesians 3:20, God can do more than you can ask or imagine. It's something that I learned in Impact and saw tangibly. My prayers are so small compared to what God does every time. Impact laid a foundation of like, I can pray as big as I want for God to show up, and God has consistently shown up bigger.
The second semester of my senior year, like, already accepted my decision for UT, was set on UT. And then I randomly had a dream in March that I should go to A&M, and then I woke up and was like, I'm going to A&M, like I need to go to A&M. It was like really random, and like looking back, such a God-sent moment, because that's like it was so out of character for me at the time. I remember like getting to the camp room and like doing the icebreakers, and everyone was just so like energetic, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I do not want to be here for 4 days. So it was the second night of Impact, going to like my BG group after the sermon that night, and everything like hit me at once, and I just started sobbing, and I was like, I just feel so like unhappy right now with my life. Like I'm so unfulfilled, and like I just like don't really know how to like get out of this. After that, my BG mom, Cameron Hubbard, was like, I'm going to talk to you later tonight. So I've heard the gospel. I grew up hearing it multiple times, but that night it just really, like, the Holy Spirit was reaching for me at the same time that I was finally interested in hearing about it. And I just remember the feeling of being like, I don't want to keep living the way that I'm living. And leaving retreat, I was like, dang, like this sucks. Like I don't want to leave, but like what's awesome about Impact is like it's just the beginning. And then like in those moments there was like transition periods where I began to be like, I landed on church, so now I found my own Bible study and found like awesome community there. I decided to get baptized, but it was just kind of full circle. Cameron came, and it was nice to see like the support that I've gained this last semester, and just all the people that challenge me in my faith daily. So this year I get to serve as a counselor for Omega Reuben, and I'm really excited about that. All the time and the effort that gets put in, starting literally 5 months before we even go to retreat, like all of second semester is spent in preparation. So much prayer. I think prayer has been revealed to me so much, and just the power of it over my first semester at A&M, and I think it was almost something I took for granted. I just hope that my VG girls are able to find people that ultimately point them back to the cross. And I'm really excited to see the way that the Lord's able to work through me and my camp during those few days I lead them.
I think we haven't even begun seeing all that could be fulfilled through Impact.